Yo, what's up, podcast world, and hello from warm, sunny Miami, Florida. Welcome to Ready, Set, Cast, your premier destination for pike and walleye adventures. I'm your host, TJ, joined with Nick Nappy and my dad, Tom. This show's gonna be dope. We have so much great camping and fishing topics to discuss. I hope we can get it all in. So sit back, relax, and come cast a line in the water with us and join us on our journey as we prepare for our third annual fishing trip to head deep into the remote woods of Quebec, Canada to hunt that big, that stinky, that slimy, mean 45-inch northern pike and those fat old juicy 30-inch walleyes. Let's get into the show. Oh shit! Come on, Nappy! Nick, grab the net! Yo, Dad, come down here! We got a huge pike! Okay, did I turn it on? There we go. Hey, what's happening, folks? It's your boy TJ, and I'm kicking back, soaking in the sun, and enjoying a cold one. Cheers to good vibes and great times. Whether you're sipping on a beverage or just unwinding, I'm thrilled to have you here with me. So let's make this podcast experience one to remember. Today's show is going to be a bit different because I'm rolling dolo. The crew will be with me on the upcoming episodes, but for now, it's just me and you. And I want to take this opportunity to give you a quick introduction into how our pike and walleye adventures kicked off and why they mean so much to all of us. So grab a comfy spot and let's dive into the backstories that make these journeys so special. Over the past 2 summers, me, my brother, father, and cousin all embark on a fishing trip to a hidden cottage that's settled in between 2 private lakes deep in the woods of Quebec, Canada. This isn't your classic put a worm on a hook and throw a bobber out there type of outing. Instead, we're going after these monster pike and giant walleyes, where our team best came last year when my cousin Nappy landed a huge 44-inch northern pike and I reeled in a whopping 29-inch walleye. If you know pike fishing at all, those are 2 great fish, but we want bigger, and we're gonna get them. I suppose you can say we're all hooked. I've been fishing ever since I was a kid and caught tons of fish. But there's something uniquely exhilarating about catching these predator fish in Canada. They're just built different. These fish are so aggressive and they absolutely destroy our baits. It's so awesome to see. I'm telling you, this year I'm bringing up a GoPro, so we're going to get some sick videos. We catch so many fish when we're there, it's crazy. But beyond the excitement of catching all these fish, this journey serves as the ultimate bonding experience with the guys. Recognizing the uniqueness of our journey, we decided to launch a podcast dedicated to exploring the details of planning and executing a fishing and camping excursion like this one. Unlike your traditional tales that often begin with the cliche, I once caught a fish this big, our podcast takes a direct approach by narrowing our focus to one specific trip that's scheduled in 6 months, and we're only concentrating on 2 types of fish. Yeah, you guessed it, pike and walleye. Planning a trip like this is pretty extensive. We don't just load up the truck and drive to the doorstep of a beautiful fishing lodge. No, our adventure involves us crossing the U.S.-Canada border in New York, a 9-hour drive on highways and roads in the middle of absolutely nowhere, a 3-hour drive on dangerous gravel roads, followed by another hour ATV ride with all our gear in the back to get to these secret lakes that are loaded with these prize fish. Oh yeah, and the best part of it all? We have absolutely no cell phone service whatsoever. Just us, cold beer, and the fish. This definitely gives a new definition of being unplugged. Life without a cell phone for a week is a vacation in itself. Talk about kicking back and relaxing. There's nothing like it. Each episode, the 4 of us are meeting starting now in February 2024 until we leave mid-July. We'll be covering everything from the essential gear we bring up, fishing techniques, we're going to talk some tackle, fishing times and strategies, cooking equipment, all the meal planning it takes. We're going to discuss what changes and upgrades we make over the years. We also created a week-long cash money winner-take-all fishing game called Chasing the Master Angler. So we're going to talk about that game too. Can't wait to share it with you. If you're a camper or someone who loves to fish, then stay tuned because this show's for you. Our journey to a fishing destination wasn't a random online pick to the middle of Canada. Our story dates back to the late 60s and early 70s, way before I was even born. See, my grandfather and dad would actually make this exact trip and fish these same lakes. It's truly remarkable that in 2024, the four of us have the opportunity to fish these very same lakes. As kids, my grandfather would tell me and my brother countless tales of all his fishing adventures in Canada. And now in present day, we find ourselves living these cherished stories ourselves with our father. It doesn't get much better than this. While recording this episode, the team and I thought it'd be a fantastic idea to conduct a one-on-one interview with my dad. This would help us gain a deeper insight to all of this. I'm going to have lunch with my parents later on today, so I plan on miking him up and firing a barrage of questions about his Canada adventures from when he was a young teen. I'm sure it's going to be great for him to reminisce and put those shoes back on. What were they called? PF Flyers? It's a great story. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Stay tuned for the special episode dedicated exclusively to this interview. The four of us, our real adventure started back in 2017 when my dad got his first smartphone, and that changed his life. He called me one day all excited and said, "Hey T, I'm on the World Wide Web from my cell phone and this is really cool. I think I found the place where Pa and I used to go fishing in Canada." Man, knowing him, I was a little skeptical at first. However, he seemed convinced this was the same place. Once I finally walked him through step by step on how to cut and paste the link. If you have a boomer parent, you've been in the same exact situation more than once, I guarantee it, so I know you can relate. He finally was able to send the link, but the website didn't really have much detail. Just a few pictures and minor descriptions. But that's all I needed, because this definitely was the same place. From that point on, we would always talk about it. I guess you could say this is when we first planted the seed for our trip. Around 2 years later, in mid-2019, my brother and I were talking on the phone about one day trying to figure out how we can make this trip happen. Something about that one conversation really sparked our curiosity to see if we can pinpoint the location on a map. At the time, the only thing my dad could remember was the nearest town was called Monet. So I figured we could start from there. It took us a little bit, but we eventually found it. The only thing now, we had no idea where Monet was. If you look on a map of Quebec, you're going to find wooded areas and lakes everywhere. That made it impossible to find. So I pulled up the website and decided to give him a call. Somehow I got in contact with a guy named Kevin. He was the property manager for the owner and acts as the guide for all the fishing teams. He was super friendly and helped clarify a lot. He explained that the property was huge, over 90 square miles, had 12 lakes with several cottages. He assured me that if we book, we would have exclusive rights to fish the lakes and would be the only group fishing on the property at the time. He said the cottage was very cozy, had 2 bunk beds, small couch, fireplace, kitchen, full bathroom, hot water, lights in all the rooms. He also gave us the heads up that the cottage had very little supplies and had no plugs or outlets anywhere. But the best part of the cottage, he told me, was the amazing sunset view from the front deck on top of the hill overlooking this beautiful lake. Man, he had me at very little supplies. I was so excited because that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I couldn't wait to call the guys and tell them the good news. It was around Christmas 2019 when we collectively agreed that summer 2020 would mark our first trip. That would leave us around 8 months to plan it all out. Our only concern at the time were the bugs. We didn't want to go up there and have to put a net over our head, so I called Kevin back and he said come anytime mid-July to mid-August. Man, I'm glad I called because coincidentally, this is when he told me we needed to act fast and book it because one of the teams happened to bail out and there was an opening to join an exclusive group of only 12 teams. He said, "Listen, TJ, this opportunity doesn't happen too often. You'll have a great time when you're here and you'll catch tons of fish." His advice was not to think about it too long because there was a few other groups that also wanted to join. He gives me the phone number to a booking agent and said, "Call them, give them all your information and book the cottage that sleeps 4. And I'll be reaching back out to you in March to confirm everything and go over all the details." So I talked it over with the guys and we all agreed we could not pass this opportunity up. So we booked it for the first week of August of 2020. The 4 of us dove headfirst into the world of YouTube fishing videos and we're buying every single type of fishing lure and gear available. We went all out. We would discuss fishing every single day. It consumed our thoughts, but we didn't care. We're about to go fishing. And back then, my dad was the only one to catch a walleye, so we were really excited to get up there and catch ours. We had 8 more months to go, so we all started a countdown on our phones, so we knew exactly how much time we had left to go. We felt like kids. It was awesome. And then in February of 2020...
Tonight, Canada is closing its borders because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Damn, COVID. What the f***? Now our dream fishing trip had to be canceled until further notice. This was absolutely heartbreaking and so disappointing. COVID ruined our trip. Now we have to look at all this brand new fishing equipment that we just spent a small fortune on and let it just sit there until who knows when. This was horrible. Anyways, I don't want to dwell on our 3-year setback of COVID. So let's fast forward to an interesting part in March of 2021 when the guy suggested I call the agent back and see what's going on. At the time, the borders were still closed, so I knew we wouldn't be able to book for that upcoming summer. But I still wanted to hear what they had to say and, more importantly, keep in contact with them to make sure we didn't lose that one spot. With the world being in a big frenzy, they suggested to book and lock in the following summer of 2022. I thought that was a great idea. Even though it was a year and a half out, we were not passing this opportunity up. So we booked it for the first week of August. So now we have to wait and wait and wait to what seemed to be forever. The US-Canada border was actually closed for more than 16 months. During that time, I'll be honest, it took us a while to get that excitement back. It really was deflating. But it was that one moment in March of 2022 when I received a call from Quebec, Canada. It was the call I've been waiting such a long time for. I answered it like I was a kid about to talk to Santa Claus. The guy was like, "Hi, TJ, this is John calling from Monet. I'm calling to confirm your fishing trip from August 1 to the 7th. I was like, "Yes, finally, it's here." That smile I had on was from ear to ear. I was so happy. John and I spoke for about 20 minutes. He was great. He explained that he was our new guide and he'd be helping us from anything we needed from that point on. He was so friendly, we just clicked right from the beginning. He even sent me a few pictures of the fish they caught during COVID, and wow, they were very impressive. Growing up, when we would catch a northern pike, it would be like 32, 36 inches, and we thought that was huge. Man, the fish up there are monster pike on a whole nother level. That was exactly what we needed because it was those pictures that jump-started our excitement and got it back to where it was prior to COVID. In April of 2022, with just 4 months left before our long-anticipated trip, the reality began to sit in. Throughout the 3-year wait period, we created several detailed lists with all the camping and fishing essentials we needed. And now it was time to turn those plans into action. Armed with nothing but a fishing pole and a tackle box each, we faced the challenge to figure out how to transport all our gear from the truck to the cottage. So I figured I'd reach back out to John and see what he had to say. With no store within a 100-mile radius, what we bring is what we have, including all the food and beer. John reassured us and explained that they would load everything in a trailer towed behind a side-by-side, allowing us to bring as much as we wanted. That was perfect because now it's time to go shopping and hit the stores up for all the gear we need for this adventure. And shopping is what we did. We bought so much stuff it's hard to believe. Every inch of my dad's truck was being used. We had 2 coolers, 4 chairs, basically a whole outdoor kitchen, all the cooking equipment, camping essentials, fishing gear, all our clothes. We ended up going to Home Depot and buying those totes that have the yellow tops. Those worked out great. Keep everything nice, tight, and secure. We had so many totes, they didn't all fit in the back of my dad's truck. So we had to run to Harbor Freight last minute, grab one of those racks that you put in the back of the hitch. That was the best $60 we spent. We definitely overpacked, but who cares? We're about to go fishing. When it comes to eating, I was not going up there and eating fried fish, hot dogs, and canned baked beans all week. Hell no, because another passion of mine is cooking, especially cooking on a campfire. As a kid, I was a Boy Scout, so I learned all this at a young age, and now it was the perfect time for me to utilize it. Plus, your boy can throw it down in the kitchen. I can cook with the best of them. I really wanted to make some legit meals and impress these guys, especially after a long day of fishing on the water. We're 4 guys that love to eat and drink, so we figured, let's eat like kings while we're up there. This is when TJ's Walleye Camp Shack opened. I created a restaurant-style camping menu that blew the hats off these guys. Everything was cooked outside on the campfire and was served to perfection. The food tasted like a Michelin star chef cooked it. I'm gonna let these guys tell you on the upcoming episode when we create this year's menu. Take a look on our Instagram page. We have a lot of pictures and videos up there. Some of the dishes we ate that first 2 years, grilled jerk pork chops. They were so good we ate them twice. Made homemade marinara sauce on the campfire, onion smash burgers with cheddar cheese, gourmet grilled cheese with tomato soup, seared T-bone steak with twice baked potato, I deep fried the whole walleye with Jamaican jerk seasoning, beer battered walleye fillets and fries, hot and spicy walleye fingers with assorted Italian cheeses, Thai chili walleye tacos, Ritz cracker walleye fillets that were cooked in butter, Cajun walleye sliders with onion rings, fried walleye sandwiches with coleslaw, walleye ceviche, hot Italian sausage with peppers and onions, ribeye steak with fried eggs for brunch. That steak was like $65. It was fire. French toast topped with bananas and fresh Canadian syrup. We enjoy some fantastic meals during our time up there, and I make it a point to ensure that. Being the cook for the crew is one of the highlights of the trip for me. Planning out the week menu takes some effort, but it's all worth it at the end seeing these guys lick their chops. What's cool about taking an annual trip like this is the fact that we're starting to create fun traditions. And these traditions are turning into memories, and it's the perfect start to our adventure. We all meet in Syracuse, New York at my parents' house the day before we leave. This way, me, Nick, and Nappy go grocery shopping and grab all the last-minute supplies while my dad's home washing up the truck. Once we pack everything in, it's time for Mom's homemade cooking. You can never go wrong with a homemade meal cooked by Mom, I'm telling you that much. After that, we hit up the local bar to reconnect with family and friends. My mom usually tells all my aunts, uncles, and cousins and everybody else that we're in town, so we usually take over the bar for a few hours. It's really a small family reunion. We even seen a few friends we went to high school with that I haven't seen in over 20 years. Shout out to Henniger High School. What's up, H-Bomb? We pick Nappy up around 6 a.m. and head north on Interstate 81. Another tradition of ours is stopping in Pulaski, New York to grab breakfast at a diner that's been there since I was a kid. My grandfather would take us fishing to these parts of New York, and we would always stop here. That breakfast is so darn good. We also came up with a good solution on who pays. The person that wins the fishing game the year before pays that bill. After breakfast, we get back on 81 for another hour to the U.S.-Canada border over the Thousand Island Bridge. That's a cool bridge with some great views of all those islands. You can see some really nice houses there, too. Once we go through the border, we drive another hour to get to Ottawa. Our first year, we decided we were going to spend the night in Ottawa because we had 8 more hours to go and we didn't want to push it. Plus, we still had to maneuver around the city and make a few pit stops on the way. So we hit up the local butcher, grab all our fresh meats. Ran to the Italian market, grabbed all our cheeses and cold cuts. Found an outdoor farmer's market, grabbed some fresh vegetables. Stopped at the liquor store, and then we rolled into the bait shop to grab all our worms. So this was a great layover for us. Nappy booked an Airbnb that was walking distance to all these restaurants and bars. So the 4 of us hit uptown. We ended up finding this little stand that sold homemade Canadian maple syrup. The lady even gave us samples. That was fire. If you've never been to Ottawa, I definitely recommend putting it on your list. It's super nice there. We had such a great night. Now the real adventure starts. We hit the road up early around 4 a.m. with no coffees in hand. After drinking till 2 and very little sleep, coffee was a must for all of us. We also needed to gas up and grab our fishing license, so we figured we'd just stop at the first gas station we see. Well, that was not so easy. I guess these little towns in Canada all start their day later because nothing was open. At one point, we started to get nervous because we really needed to get gas. 2 hours later, we finally found one that just happened to open. And luckily enough, they were brewing fresh coffee and they were also able to help us with our fishing license. The next stop now, Sanitaire for all the beer. Once we bought all the beer, we pushed the cart to the car and realized we did not have enough room for all this beer. We had 10 cases of beer, so you know how much room that takes up. So we literally put cases of beer everywhere they fit. I had 2 cases under my feet. The guys had under their feet. Every nick and cranny of that truck had cases of beer. It was pretty funny, but the only problem, we still had almost a 3-hour drive left to go. And that drive was on a gravel road. But who cares? We're about to go fishing. Navigating this gravel road was quite a challenge, especially for my dad who was behind the wheel. It serves as a logging route for Mack trucks hauling pine trees out of there nonstop. Despite the driver's aggressive speed and the thick dust that they kick up, my dad skillfully got us there without any issues, except for a small crack on the windshield, and that was from a rock being kicked up. But the road presented its own set of obstacles, including a backed up beaver dam where locals were repairing it, and we just managed to squeeze through. However, among these challenges, there were breathtaking views of endless pine trees and beautiful Canadian mountaintops. About 45 minutes in, we all lose cell phone service, intensifying our focus to reach Monet. An interesting feature of an iPhone came in handy without internet or cell service. The GPS was still navigating us to our destination. That was a big help because we still had to make a few turns and we've never been on this road before. So it was good that it was still working. Pretty cool feature. When we finally got to the gate in Monet, we thought we were there, but we still had to drive a very narrow, long driveway for more than a half an hour just to get to the home base camp. Once we got there, you can feel the relief from all of us. We were finally at the place that we've been talking and hearing about our whole life. It felt like a dream come true. And what made this arrival even more dope, John was waiting on his deck with ice cold beers for us. Once we cracked our first beers, we all knew our trip has started. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Ready, Set, Cast. Stay tuned for the next show as I introduce the rest of the team and we start discussing what boat essentials you must have for a trip like this. And we're going to talk about all the different tackle we flipped through during the week. Don't forget to check out our Instagram at Ready, Set, Cast 2024. For now, that's it. It's a wrap. Peace.